Hello, my name is Peter Brock. Back in 1957, I was a young designer at the GM Tech Center back in Warren, Michigan, when the head of design at that time, Bill Mitchell, walked into the advanced concept studio where I was working and challenged us to design a new second generation Corvette. This is the amazing drawing that I sketched in November 22nd of that year. And Mitchell actually pulled it off the wall and said, "Okay, guys, that's the direction we're going. Let's build it." A full-size clay model of this car was created. And along with my background in racing, I'd share my thoughts with Mitchell regarding the aerodynamics and the importance of designing the functionality of it, for things like the air scoops for the intake and keeping the engine cool, the brakes, and improving the driver conditions as well. Bill took a liking to my enthusiasm, and as I shared my ideas, he'd often come over and put his arm around me and say, "Don't forget, kid, I'm designing the Corvette around here." So I've got to say that I was simply the interpreter for Bill's ideas, and this was his concept, but they're my lines. And I'm very proud of what we finally created. However, I never forgot the ideas that I had back then in wanting to refine the form. As was typical with GM design exec that time, I wanted to build my own car, so I envisioned this one as what we call a studio concept car. So last year I bought a 63 Corvette coupe, took it apart and started all over and rebuilt this one exactly how I wanted it at the time, and with the improvements of a modern chassis and engine today. And like making the scoops and all the vents functional, I enlarged the rear windows to increase the rearward visibility and emphasize that fin down the back end that split the rear windows to make the car look a little bit more streamlined. I further improved the form or the concept by eliminating most of the bright work, which I thought distracted from the overall form. So this included removing the chrome surrounds around the glass and the flush mounting of the glass, so it made everything really super smooth. I cleaned up the nose of the car. As you'll notice, the no longer has flip-up headlights, and we improved that with streamlined LED lightings that fits underneath that nice broad line on the front end of the car. I installed some aerodynamic side windows for a much better rearward visibility. So it's a small detail, but makes a big choice of making it better. As I further enhance the handling and the performance by using a state-of-the-art Art Morrison chassis with C7 suspension and larger brakes, and improve the performance with a Tremec 5-speed transmission. We use super high-quality, lightweight 3-piece wheels from Forgeline, and of course install the fuel-injected 600 horsepower engine. So it's a great combination, and very much exactly like I'd originally done the concept had I been doing it back in 1957. Bill Mitchell was a design genius. So all the basic shapes of this car can't be improved on. But the detail changes that I've included, both in the overall design and the technology of the chassis and the performance components, make it the best possible C2, I think, that anybody's ever built. So let's take a look at the details and see what was done and how we did it. There are many, many little subtle details on the car. that I wanted to change after I'd seen the production automobile. One of these was the rear glass area, because there'd been a lot of controversy at that time with Zora Duntov, who was not very happy the fact that Bill Mitchell wanted to put the split in the rear window. The split in the rear window was an homage to the 57 SC Bugatti, which was done in 1937, and it was one of Bill Mitchell's automobiles that always thought he was a classic design. So in offering this split on the there, we were able to get this beautiful design back end here on here, and it really accentuates this back end that Bill wanted to do. We didn't get it in the production car, but I was able to go back and do exactly what Bill wanted to do. But the main thing is, if you look at the stock rear windows on the car, they're only about this big. I opened these up because Zora Duntov didn't like these small rear windows. He didn't like the split in the back end. He was concerned about the rearward vision. So one of the main themes in doing these new Brock Corvettes is to open up the glass areas so it makes the car a lot lighter and thinner. Even though the bulk and the overall form is the same, the transparency is going to be a great improvement in the car. To accentuate that, we've also darkened the glass so that it'll be more in the form, so that we accentuate the form of the car. And you'll see that when it's all done. But it's very exciting to see it happen as we're building the car now. One of the interesting things is you'll notice that the car originally had a big gas cap in here, which I felt was really way too much brightness at that point. But by redoing it, we've opened it up this way. We've gotten rid of the big chrome gas cap, and we were able to keep the original form in it. And that's the whole theme of this car. It's all form, not exterior brightness. So if we look at the glass that goes in the car up here, and everything will fit nice and smooth, all very flush. And there you can see everything is going to be flush. There won't be any chrome trim. That was all detracting from the original form. So that's the whole purpose of doing this car, is to accentuate the form. So by accentuating the form, we begin to see all the things that are really so beautiful on this car, and especially this rear fin in here. So most people will walk up this car and it looks like a standard 63 until you begin to really look at it and see what's there. And it's an incredibly beautiful car, and all we've done is accentuated it. We didn't change anything, we just accentuated it. Same thing, everything here originally on the car was only for looks. I've gone back and we've made all the functional vents and slots in the car functional. So this is the way the car should go as far as its theme goes. You can see the same thing up in the front here. These openings on the original car in production form are phony. That was very difficult for me because we'd wanted to make those functional, but the cost of doing them at that time was just prohibitive. So being able to come back now and do it this way and make them functional makes the car far more beautiful from the standpoint of understanding what it was supposed to do. So everything on the car now is functional. Look at the front end here now. Everything on the nose area is all smooth. Instead of having the flip up headlights, everything is now smoothed in because we can use a modern lighting system down below it. So again, back accentuating the form of the car, and that's what really makes this car so beautiful. So it's a real treat to be able to come back and accentuate everything that I wanted to do with the original sketches on the car that were taken away from production. So when you take it, walk around this car and see what's new, you'll find a lot of details that really change it. Now that you've had a short preview of what the semi-completed car looks like, I'd like to explain why and how these shapes came about. Really, the car talks to me in terms of what the overall shape is, but I can see that certain things on it were compromised for production. And the thing is when we're building a beautiful custom version here, a Studio Concept, we can change these lines over to look more exactly like my original sketches. And that's the whole purpose of this car, is to show what it could have been and now what it is. So I'm really, really pleased to be able to show you how that's done with this very simple tape. Gives you a good idea. If you look at the rear part of the window, you'll see that the line on the back does not match the parallel line at the bottom of the window. It goes back at an angle. And that's, again, and looking at it, once the thing is completed, you can say, oh boy, there's a change that we should have made. And it just accentuates the rearward angle of the lines on the car. The bottom line that I'm working on here, it always bothered me that when the car went into production, and these were not things that I made on the car originally. This is the way that it is designed in the production version. I was never happy the way the lines with the vents and the rear window and everything lined up. So this is a chance to refine those details and pick it up the way it should have been done in the beginning. But this will show you why it got changed and why it now looks so much better than the original layout. It was great here in laying out the back end on the fin. You can see that I'm working here both with tape and a steel rod, because the rod will give you a very nice natural curve that you can work with in its own form, will define exactly what the fin's going to look like. So you get a chance to look at it three-dimensionally. You can tape it in there and shape the different heights on it, but you also have to work with the tape so that the line stands out, and also showing what the overall mass of the width is going to be. So here we're sketching the guys an illustration of how I want to do this exactly. So when they're working on it, when I'm not here, they will be able to do it exactly the way the tape says and the way this steel line is laid down on the top here. So it's really so much fun to take the lines of the car. Again, the form of the car talks to you, and it tells you what it needs to be, what the mass of the fin is going to be, and the height and the width. And I think that everybody here is getting a real education on how these, though, if you look at that guy peeking through the door back there, that's myself looking at the car as I'd see it at the distance, not up close, because it's very important that the overall shape of the car be really striking from a distance as well as up close, because the detail work is so beautiful on the car, but you want to see the overall shape as well. Right here, we're working on the back side of the front fender, and we're cutting out the side vents that are so prominent on the 63. So it's hard to tell exactly what's going to happen here, but when this gets flipped over, you'll be able to see exactly what's going on. And now you can begin to see what the changes are on it and how much we've increased the depth on that, because it's not just an indication of the way it was done in the production car, which was all phony. These are really functional, and you can see we put a piece of wood in the back there that holds those floor parts of the vent downwards, and gives it some real depth and some function. Here again was some more detail work on working on the side vents for the C-pillars, or the quarter window on it. And again, it's very, very important to see what the depth is going to be on it. So that's what's being sketched in here, is showing what the line of the radius is going to be on the inside of that point, as well as the radius points on the top and bottom parts of that vent. And when you can finally see that all finished up, that detail on the car, it just really makes the car, gives it some depth and realism that is so missing on the production version. So the car is full of these little details that you hardly even notice until you really begin to walk around it and appreciate how much work has gone into creating all these little details. It's very, very careful shaping. And working with the guys that are just some tremendous fabricators here is such a real pleasure to work with guys that can interpret what your lines are. And you can go away knowing that, that they continue on and will finish them off, and everything will look as you left it. Perhaps one of the most improvements in this car is that everything underneath the car, the chassis and everything, has all been modernized. If we look at the rear suspension, for example, you come down here, now, everything now has a new independent rear suspension in the car. The whole rear cross-member section, completely different, with a big Ford 9-inch ring and pinion. By doing that, we have an option. We can get far more ratios available for whatever the owner wants to do with the car. But you can see here with the double A arms top and bottom and all the adjustable suspension on it, the car is a far more sophisticated automobile underneath with all C7 type suspension in the front. It's a fabulous, fabulous driving car. By having all modern C7 suspension, which was the last suspension system that was for the front engine Corvettes, we've got the latest and the best suspension system that ever made for a front engine Corvette. Again, a new rack and pinion on it, which enables us to run the rack and the lines up to the steering, completely avoiding all of the stuff in the engine, making a very, very simple transition. Same thing in the back. If you look here, an entirely new rear suspension system. This whole third cross member, everything is completely custom built for these particular cars. We're using a 9-inch Ford, and the reason for that is that there are more ratios available for the big 9-inch back end, and it's a lot stronger than the original. So by combining that rear end, with a double A-arm suspension, we can get as much modern suspension underneath the car, which matches the great original lines on the top. Again, here on the top, standard fuel tank on it. Everything is serviceable on it. But if you look at the amount of fuel that can go through here, we can do about 470 liters per hour of fuel flow, which is needed for the big LT4 supercharged engine. So all this upgraded fuel pressure and sensing in here is brand new and way, way advanced over anything that was available back in 1963. But again, everything was serviceable in a standard Chevrolet dealership. So you have all the advantages with modern design, modern technology, but everything's serviceable at a standard Chevrolet dealership. You can see it, the chassis is beautiful. One of the nice things about it, for example, we make our own custom motor mounts here on it, so we can put the engine down as low as possible and set it back in position on it and get the balance on the car as best we can. Beautiful, beautiful construction work on here. You can see on here all the doublers, all the fuel lines, everything is built custom. Great, great stuff. It's a shame that all this stuff is hidden under the body because it's probably one of the nicest things about the car, but to drive it, you'll appreciate it. This is where it really starts getting exciting, because you can finally see where all of these very, very fine, subtle changes have been adapted to the original form. And it just gets better and better as you walk around this car, and you can see the lines and the shapes and the radiuses all bring this car to life. I mean, it is just, I think the color particularly is so beautiful on this car, and these lines are so classic that all it does is get better. I mean, look at these side vents now, how beautiful they are compared to the original production car. So all of the original intent that I did on the sketching now comes to life in this Studio Concept, and we see a car that is far, far more sophisticated than what finally came out in production. Now we begin to see what's going to be inside. So we start with basically a 6.2 liter completely forged aluminum block with the, again, all aluminum heads. These are Mass Motorsports Black Label heads, all the best. And down inside we've got a Brian Tooley camshaft, and then we supercharge the entire thing so that the engine management is GM engine management, and we're putting out 725 horsepower. So you can see that the entire front of the engine has all the latest pulleys. Look at the wiring, especially on individual coils for each cylinder. Beautiful compression box on the top there. So everything is going to match in terms of the internal beauty of the car is going to match the styling on the outside. So the transmission is going to be a dramatic TKX unit, which is the latest type on it. Full 5-speed manual. So as far as this is going to really be a driver's car in terms of horsepower and control. Now, if you look at the wheels, we've got these beautiful forged line wheels that we've made up specially just to match this particular car. And with the blue line tires on it, I think we're going to have a great, great combination. So everything is built to match. Notice the color on the inside of the spokes. It's all a beautiful accent dark blue. The overall styling is going to be carried through with the highest grade components underneath.